A lot more stories now that I'm seeing in all different kinds of media about the alien stuff. And you can just see the guys that know, and they're acting like this could be a real thing. It's like you're a Mason. Of course you know. This kind of thing was planned. I mean, it's been part of the plan for a long time. That's why they inundated you with a bunch of films about it. That's why NASA program existed. And the moon landing. All this stuff was to get you prepared for what they want to do now. Even before, we supposedly went to the moon, they already had decided what it looked like, what everything looked like. Before we even went up there, supposedly had photos of it. Remember the Universal pictures used to use the world, the globe, Earth model, and then when we got the pictures, like supposedly from space, it looks just like the Universal model. I was doing a video today about earlier this morning, whatever, who cares, about I was talking about something, and I mentioned how Nixon, how I can't get reception in my stairwell right now in this current year with my phone. But Nixon talked to the astronauts on the moon on a rotary phone, and I just wanted a picture of him talking to them. So I found this meme online of that, and I didn't really even read what it said until I looked at it. And in the image, they point out that he's talking to the astronauts on the moon, right? But on his wall next to him is a picture of the Earth from the moon, like the famous picture of that shows like the you know what I'm talking about, the Earth coming up. You see the top like bubble of it, the top half of it, and it's on his wall. I've never seen anyone address that, like how he's supposedly talked to them. I think now these days, if you were to talk to someone, the official line would probably be something like, well, we had to pre-tape that because of live TV, and he did talk to them, but he talked to them from like NASA Central or something, and we just did it in that theatrical way. Well, I don't even know if they would admit that, because that was news. I don't know. That's just something you just don't talk about, and they don't talk about. And since they control everything that goes out on any kind of communication system, that's the thing about all these, space invader alien stories that are coming in. Like how this footage was sent in and we got that. If they didn't want you to see it, you'd never see it. They want you to see it. Period. I mean, that's just how it is. If they didn't want you to see something, you wouldn't even know about it. So they're allowing these stories to be out there and to build up, to make some kind of critical mass when they announce whatever happens. I hear Biden's going to talk about it soon, and once that happens, I think he's already mentioned things about it, but he's going to address, I guess, the nation, or some kind of plan for him to do that. I just caught a couple stories about it. I'll throw them up there, what I saw. It could have been on YouTube or something. And if that it's like, if that happens and he talks to people about it, then that means they've already committed to this thing, and there's no stepping off on it. They're going through with it. And this ties in, of course, to Project Bluebeam, which is something I saw here. I made several videos about it. So, settled science, right? It'll tie into that, and also the use of these towers that they stuck up everywhere during the COVID lockdowns. People are saying that they were there for 5G or whatever. If you look at all of them, they all have speakers on them. They have like little speakers on all of them. Uh, you know, why? Why so close together? Like if it was an alarm system, they would need to have one every telephone pole. I mean, we have Port Jerusalem up here that sets off a warning alarm every month on the 1st. I've captured it on video before. It's just fucking loud. You hear it everywhere. At my house, you hear it. For a while, I would just happen to be walking by the place on the 1st every month, and it would go off, and it almost immobilizes you. It's so fucking loud. And I've spent my life in front of like amplifiers without ear protection in, so and it freezes me in my tracks. Like, oh fuck, I'm here again on the 1st. What the fuck, you know? But yeah, there is no space aliens. There is no space. There's nothing beyond that protective dome we have up there. That's it. There's nothing beyond that. You can't go beyond that. Everything's work. It's all kayfabe. You know, some know this, but and I know most of you guys probably know this, but it's just good to have reminders out there. You know, those aliens, that the typical alien and the typical flying saucer, those saucers have been used to travel interdimensionally. They move stuff. The way they move stuff from one dimension to another. A couple months ago I was talking about that interdimensional travel, how they move into frequency and they need spun mercury to do so. And I was speculating how you would move items. Well, I put some things together, and I believe that's what those things are used for, to move stuff and possibly just to move people or these things, you know. They've always been around. Roger from KC, of course, he's got some photos of them up in the mountains with, like, every time he finds these giants up the mountains, there's always one or two of these vehicles parked there. They just look like regular flying saucers. And I guess the thinking is they move interdimensionally, possibly with the use of spun mercury and the way they move when I say interdimension, it's computer science. It's dimensions in mathematics and dimensions in what do you call it? Help me. What happened to my brain? I just get too much shit in it. I got too much shit in it. In quantum mechanics and in geometry, it means different things. In quantum physics, it's used a different way. But neither of the two definitions implies an area you can exist in, a space you can exist in where there's room. So none of it really works when you use the term dimensional. It's better to say frequency because that's more what it is. So they can move into sort of interfrequency. Although there are dimensions of existence, this is a 3D dimension. There is the 5th dimension, where I believe we're from. And then the 4th dimension, which is like a travel dimension. I've had the photo up. I'll dig it out just to show you. The 4th dimension is like the beam. 5th being the projector. And here is the screen, you know. It works something like that. So, yeah, those things have been around. Those vehicles have been around. They've added them into like sci-fi movies and stuff over the years, and that's become the prototypical or the average thing people think of when they think of flying saucers. Then the aliens themselves, the little gray guys with the big eyes, from what I understand and what I've picked up and what I've heard, and these are the things that Crowley talked to too. He had Crowley, well, he talked to a bunch of different ones, or he had interactions with a bunch of different ones. The scaled ones that he was talking to, or he drew, I think are ones that lived here, and they still do live here. They're like underground things. But the little grays that you always see, those things aren't bodies, they're suits. Well, actually, we don't have bodies either. We have suits. But they're like clone bodies. They're like very basic bodies. They don't have any lower like anatomy. And what they do is those are containers, basically, that the forgotten ones are in. Demonic entities, the Nephilim, the things I'm always chasing around out here, you know. Those are bodies for them to be in to enable them to interact with the 3D area here. For whatever reason. I don't know what they do. Maybe they could just be movers. You know, they could just be moving things for them with those the little saucer things. They move from one dimension to another with them. I'd imagine they would have some kind of spun mercury kind of core in these little vehicles, and that would explain why they're saucer shaped. Because the way it works with spun mercury, and I learned this from ChatGPT when I got it to admit all this stuff about interdimensional travel to me by tricking it. I didn't know how the spun mercury was used, and it explained to me that you spin it around. You actually spin in a liquid, and it flies on everything. It goes on everything, like it becomes a spray, right? So having circular vehicles makes a little bit of a sense. Makes a little sense to me when you add in the spun mercury thing, which they use to travel interdimensionally. That in the color Huon purple, which is also used. So, I mean, maybe they just put Huon purple robes on. I don't know. I don't know why these are the things that are used, but that's what they use. So that's what those crafts can be. Either way, okay? This has nothing to do with fucking Star Wars or space or other planets. That's a fantasy world they created up there, and they put it in their movies, and they told you it was real, like showing you a moon landing, and just it's more mind control, indoctrination. That's just what we live with for everything, you know. And it's kind of hard to break out of that. For some people, it's not possible to break out of it. Not everyone's going to get out of that, because some people are different. Some people aren't the same, you know, and that's okay. You still got to treat them like they're real people. But none of this has anything to do with space in science fiction. It has everything to do with the same old thing. Spiritual warfare. That's all it is. What is God? Good, goodness, light, creator, father, and evil, Satan. You know, what his fucking 15 names that he has. And that's all this is. That's all any of this is. Anything like this whole rise of the transgender thing, it's like a mockery of God. It's like, oh, we can take a man and make him a woman. Yeah. It's all leads back to that. There's nothing that doesn't lead back to that. And once you kind of apply that lens, even though what's happening around you is still horrible, it kind of takes a lot of the sting out of it, because you understand why it's happening. And it's not as, there's not as much confusion anymore, because you kind of, you know, it doesn't make it better, but, well, for me it makes it better. It makes it more clearly defined. And when things are more clearly defined, I don't know, they're just more comfortable to me, no matter how horrible the situation may be. All right, I gotta get out of here before I get a copyright claim for having this music in my fucking video. They do that to me. A car will be driving by and somebody cranking the tunes, and I've gotten copyright claims for that. You know, when you're out here talking about this kind of stuff, they don't like it, and they just get any reason they can to fuck with you, you know. But that's all right. That's all right. That's not gonna. Ain't nobody gonna break my stride. Nobody got a hold of me down. I've got to West Methuen. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.